I'm gonna show you how I got from this to this. And that's without foundation or concealer. It's pretty amazing actually, because you might actually already have these products and they're so easy to use, and I can guarantee you probably wouldn't even think to use them in this way that I'm gonna show you. This is something I have totally come up with on my own, and I genuinely think like it gives you the most stunning finish, and it's pretty insane how you don't need concealer or foundation for this. I was actually quite shocked when I saw the results after as well. So super excited about this. Let's get started. Now obviously first off, I don't have anything on my skin. You can see my dark circles are out, shining bright. Well, they're not really shining bright at all. They're not bright at all. They're quite dark for you to see. And I do have some blemishes and sunspots around that I want to kind of cover as well. So this is really about getting your skincare right first. So every step of this is really, really important, because it's not just a case of kind of like using certain products to cover it. It's about trying to make those areas that you're trying to kind of cover trying to make them brighter before you even get to the products, if that makes sense. As I said, I don't have anything on at the moment, but what I do want to do is kind of like brighten my under eye circles as much as I can. So for that, I'm going to be using my PIXI Roll-On Detoxify Serum, because this is a really good kind of depuffing and brightening serum. So it has these kind of like metal balls there, you can see, and they're really cooling for the eye. So that's the part of it that I feel like really does help to kind of just even the skin tone out a bit as much as it possibly can. Obviously it's not enough to be able to just use this and then that's it, but I do feel like this really does help. So it just kind of really cools the area, tightens it, depuffs the area, and it's super easy to use as well, because it's not one of those kind of like ones you have to, you know, get your fingers dirty. It's just straight on like this. And if you want to smooth it out with your finger, you can. I generally do. But yeah, I kind of do this for a little while because I really do like the cooling effect, and it genuinely does. I personally feel like it has worked to kind of help to depuff the area. So I don't want any excess product there, so I'm just kind of smoothing this just around and just kind of make sure it's nicely kind of on all the eye area. You just don't want to be left with like a whole load of product anywhere. So I've got a tissue and just wiping some of it off. It's not so much wiping it off, it's more so kind of just smoothing it over. Okay, so the eye area is nice and prepped. Now this is a serum, so you can use a cream on top of it if you want, like an eye cream. If you feel that your skin is pretty dry generally, especially your eye area, or it gets really crappy, I would actually suggest, if you're going to use this serum, use an eye cream on top. When you're looking for an eye serum or an eye cream, I would personally suggest looking at the texture. Don't necessarily look at what it says on the bottle or the tube. For example, that, it says it's a serum, but it also is a serum, the texture. And then I've also got this one here, which is really good at brightening the dark circles, and that's actually a cream. So even though it does say Hyper Real Serumizer, it is a cream texture. So this we're going to put on in a second, because I want this to kind of like settle down and just let the skin really soak it all up. So in the meantime, we're just going to add some moisturizer. I'm going to use my It Cosmetics Confidence in a Cream, and I just want something that's a basic moisturizer. Just press this on. With this particular look, I'm going to recommend that you press everything on. I do feel like if you start rubbing your face quite drastically, like you're just kind of increasing any redness or anything like that. So I just want to really just be very, very gentle with my skin. So now the eye serum should have really kind of like settled down. So I'm going to use this, which is an eye cream. Now you want to use a very small amount of this. You don't need a lot when you've already got kind of serum underneath. Now this, we're just going to pat on top. So don't forget, I know you might be thinking, yeah, but we've got a serum and now we're putting an eye cream. Your eye area is so thin, as in the skin. The skin is so thin, thinner than anywhere else on your body. So if anything, you need to look after it a little bit more. Okay, so now that we've got the skincare on, this is where we want to move to kind of like the prepping side of it. So this is our general skincare that we've got on. Like you would put this on regardless of whatever look you're doing. Now what we want to do is move on to things that could potentially help to just kind of like also prep it in the right way so it looks its best possible in its best possible form before we actually put all the other products on. Now, what we want to do ultimately is use a primer that's kind of blurring, because we're not going to be using foundation, we're not going to be using concealer. So we want a primer that's really going to help to just blur the skin a little bit. So I'm using my Laura Mercier Pure Canvas Primer, the blurring one. I've got a little bit on my hand here, and smooth it over the fingers, and then just pat this in. You can just drag it a little bit, but not too much. I don't want to, like, you know, press the skin too much, but you can pat this in wherever you feel you could do with that kind of primer and that blurring effect, especially over textured areas. So really kind of like focus on those areas if you really do struggle with that. So I feel like this is kind of really toned down my skin in the sense that it's not that obvious shine, which in turn can also make flaws or, like, you know, pitted skin, uneven skin look even more obvious. So it has kind of like done its job there, to be honest. So I feel like already, even though we've just got a skincare on and we've got the primer on, I do feel like it's already made my skin look a lot better than what it had done before, in terms of, like, it looks a bit more even, it doesn't look as greasy, it doesn't look as shiny, and it's just going to be a bit easier for me to now try and figure out how to cover these kind of areas. This is where it gets interesting, because we're not going to be using a foundation or a concealer. Now, there's this little trick that I'm going to show you. So what I'm using here is actually the Doll 10 Infinite Color Eye Crayon, and I'm using the shade Gratitude, and this is basically a matte pencil. It's a chunky pencil. You don't have to use this particular one. I would go for like a matte creamy pencil that is lighter than your skin tone, right? So I'm using this one here, and all I'm going to do is actually be very strategic with covering certain dark areas. So let me work on the eye area first, and then we're going to move over to like blemishes. So for the eye area, I don't want to cover the whole area, because this is where, like I said, you've got to be strategic, you've got to be clever. So this is much lighter than my skin tone, much lighter, but I'm going to show you what we're going to do. So what I want to do here is actually apply it onto certain areas that is kind of like the difference between my normal skin here and then the darkness. So that would be this kind of like groove here, right? So what we want to do here is just kind of do a few dashes there. Now we're going to get a fluff brush here. Now you don't want to get something which is too harsh. I'm going to use a very soft one. I've just grabbed whatever brush looked good to me. This is the REPHR 14 brush. So what I want to do here is I'm just going to very lightly try and keep it in the same place, but we're just kind of blending that in. And like I said, it is a lot lighter than our skin tone, but don't worry about that. So I don't want to completely blend it so you can't see it anymore, right? I do want it to still kind of be there, but just not as harsh. See that, what we've done there? Now, I've only done a very small amount, and hopefully you can see the difference already. You can go onto the brush and do it like that if you want, if you don't want to draw it on. So if I show you, that's what I would do here. I would go like that, see that? And then you can just touch certain areas. So all I'm doing here is focusing on the groove, because that's the area that tends to make the dark circle look even more obvious. Now we're also going here, because this is also an area that connects to our normal skin. So anywhere, you're basically going all the way around that dark circle, but the edges, and just kind of like, you can go onto the inner part, but that's just to smooth this out. Right, we're gonna go just a little bit more. And there is nothing wrong with using this kind of shade. So something which isn't necessarily, it's not really working with coverage. So that's why we're not using a concealer or foundation, because that gives you coverage. What this is a color transfer. So it's giving you color. It's not focusing on coverage. It's an eye pencil, which you can use on the face as well. So it's creamy, and it allows you to be able to brighten areas. So that's what we're doing here. See that? You're being very targeted with where you apply this. Okay, already I feel like that's definitely brightened up that dark circle. So you just want to add any more that you feel that you're going to need. See how it's crazy how it's actually the edge of the dark circle that actually ends up making it look way worse. Like, granted, I have a vein here which is quite prominent, and that doesn't help the situation either. But let's go on to the other side. Now I do want to actually do exactly what I did on the other side, just so it's not different. Well, that was very ticklish when I just pressed it there. Okay, see how we're just kind of pressing and flicking down? So we're just kind of really getting the edge of the dark circle covered. There you go. We're going to just go back into this. I'm going to do the rest the same way I did the other eye. And then go in here. See, I feel like a lot of the time people make the mistake of going really close to the lash line, and that actually ends up making it look very mask-like, because it's just not natural for that area to look, well, I guess on some skin tones it can look exactly the same as everywhere else on the skin. But realistically, most of us, you know, look at that area here we've not done yet. See the difference? And everywhere else? So all you're doing is just brightening it. But yeah, like most of us, our skin tone around the lash line area, you know, it isn't super bright. It is a little bit darker. I think especially I should just make my own language up at this point. Like literally the number of times I just do not say something right. And I reckon if I just carried on with it and I owned it, you'd probably still understand what I'm trying to say anyway. So yeah, that is done there. Don't worry that it looks white, by the way, guys. I don't want you to be scared at this. Honestly, you're going to be amazed at how we transform this. Okay, so now what we want to do is go on to other areas that we've got blemishes. So this is where I've got on here. Can you see that? I'm just going to do a little dot there on top. Anywhere you feel, there you go. You feel that you can see pigmentation, darkness anywhere. I've got one here. I don't want to touch that because that's actually a spot. Okay, there you go. So that's everywhere I want to do it. Then we're going to get this brush, nothing on it, and we're just going to lightly tap on top. There you go. And because this is a creamy pencil, it kind of like dries matte, so it works really well on the face. There you go. So we have done that now, right? So we can see that it's actually eradicated a lot of the darkness, but it's also made it a lot brighter, like kind of unrealistically lighter. So what our whole plan is now is to actually just bring everything back down a bit, but we're also going to blur the rest of the face again, and it's going to give you this beautiful finish to the skin. We're going to use a liquid blush because we do want to obviously give this really nice kind of good flushed skin like look to it. So I'm going to use the RHODE Pocket blush in Freckle, and I've got my Hourglass 15 brush here. Now I'm going to just go onto this like that. I love this color, it's so nice. And then we're just going to pat, and you can go a little bit more because we're going to go over this with something which I'm going to show you. Do you know another thing you're going to notice with this whole technique is that because we're not applying foundation or concealer, and this is actually going directly onto primer, it is going to literally last all day, and you get amazing pigment. Like you won't worry about it kind of sliding off or anything. It's just amazing how it also feels on the skin without having to put foundation and concealer on. And it's actually just pretty amazing. I know I've said amazing so many times. It's pretty amazing how if you just spend a little bit of extra time, you know, you don't have to actually wear foundation and concealer. And it's a really good way to let your natural skin look its best and shine through. And kind of like, you know, when you see skin and you're like, okay, I can still see someone's little flaws coming through, but they look good. It's like that. That's the kind of look this gives you. Like already, can you believe that we don't have any foundation or concealer on? So that's why when I tried this out, I really was excited to share it with you guys, because I was like, oh my God. Even blush, I feel like genuinely looks different on the skin when it's not on top of foundation and concealer. Have you ever tried that? I mean, obviously I really want you to try this whole look, but have you ever tried putting blush on your normal skin without foundation and concealer? I feel like we always run to foundation and concealer because that has to be the first thing that goes on. But if you just try actually adding all of your products without foundation and concealer, you're going to be surprised, honestly, because it actually gives you a much better indication of to what actually looks good on you and what colors look good. Like, I genuinely feel like all of my blush shades that I love them even more when I apply it on my natural skin. It looks so different on my normal skin as opposed to being on top of foundation and concealer. Like, this color looks totally different when it's on foundation and concealer. And I just want you to know that you can, ooh, nearly dropped that there. You can also have that no makeup look and not have to wear foundation or concealer. Like, I know the feeling when you see these pictures of models and everything, or celebrities, and you're like, wow, it doesn't look like they're wearing any foundation or concealer, and they're, you know, you can see their little kind of freckles and flaws coming through which look natural, and you know, it doesn't look like they're wearing that, but I can't get away with that. You can. You've just got to be strategic, you know. You can always achieve what you want to achieve. It just means it could take a little bit longer or a little bit less time than someone. Okay, so we've got quite a lot of blush there, and I'm happy with that. And now what I'm going to use is my Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter in number 5. Now I'm going to put this on the back of my hand. I don't want to draw this all over my face. Now what I want to do here is I actually want to brush this on. I don't want to go like that like I would do before foundation, because I actually want this to, I'm almost applying this like a foundation. So we're going to use a brush, the brush that I usually use for foundation, and this is my BK Beauty 106 brush. Now I'm going to go right into this. You might need to use a bit more each time on the back of your hand, but honestly, it gives the most amazing finish to your skin. There you go. So you're buffing it into the brush, by the way, really buffing it in. The same way I always talk about foundation being buffed into the brush, you're really getting this into the brush before you go over the skin, right? So what we're gonna do is work on the cheek area here. See that? Go over the nose. Don't worry about the eye area yet. We'll get to that. Really buff it in. I am honestly so excited for you guys to try this. Can we just talk about this skin? Can you believe it, guys? Can you believe we have no foundation or concealer on? This blush looks amazing underneath, and I do want to actually apply a little bit more of that blush because I feel like I could do with a bit more. So we're gonna go here. So don't be afraid to kind of, you know, go back in with things if you feel like you need more. It's just amazing how you can make your skin, which you may feel is not so perfect, look way better. Honestly, wearing this kind of in this way, it's only after putting it on in this way and not wearing my foundation and concealer and realizing there are other ways to use makeup that it really made me see that my skin can look still good and I don't have to be so reliant on foundation and concealer. So this is pretty incredible how it makes your skin look, and we haven't even done any of that. So I really hope you do try this. But anyway, moving forward, we've got the cheeks and everything done. The only thing left is the eye area. Very quickly before we actually do this eye area, I would really love if you head on over to my online magazine called The Beauty Breakfast Club. It is basically a amazing beauty community. You get newsletters every other day. Honestly, it's regular. I'm not one of those creators that says I'm gonna do something and it's gonna be regular and then it's not. I actually follow through. So every day, it's like a post is out and then we skip a day and then a post is out. So it's literally every other day. You get a new newsletter which talks about anything relating to beauty, health, wellness, mindset, all of that stuff, but primarily focused on beauty. And it's new product releases, it's reviews, it's stuff that you're not gonna find on here first. You're gonna get it there very quick. It's how-tos, it's like hacks, it's everything on there. So I'd love you to head on over there. It's a free site. There is a lot on there that you can kind of like learn from. And honestly, you've got so much to catch up on if you head on over there now. But there is an option for a paid version of it, which basically gives you access to the entire site, and it also means that you can read every single newsletter, whereas the free one, it means you have access to some of the newsletters. And with the paid version, by the way, we get a room where we can chat. Yes, straight like full on. So yeah, that literally is going to cost you around the same as getting yourself a coffee a month. So I really want to see you over there. Thanks so much. If you learn anything from this channel, then please head on over there. Moving on, let's carry on with this. Now what we're going to do is get some more of that on the back of our hand, what we were using. But now we're going to use a different brush. Let me use this. Yeah. This is my Nicola Rose and BK Beauty N16 brush. Now I'm just going to go into this. And all I'm gonna do, I've buffed it really well into the brush, by the way, is I'm just gonna go over, almost like patting over. So the same thing that we used everywhere else on the face, but all I'm doing is using a smaller brush, right? And it's fully buffed into the brush. We can't really see the product transferring so obviously, but it's enough that it gives this really nice veil. Okay, there you go. Super happy with that. Okay, so what we want to do now is just get a little bit of sculpt in. So I'm going to be using my Charlotte Tilbury Contour wand in medium, and this is where I'm going to actually get this at the back of my hand. So I'm just going to do some little dots there. I'm going to get my Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood complexion brush, go into this contour with the larger side, really buff it into the brush, and this is where I'm going to pat it in areas that I just want to sculpt just a little bit. I just want to give a little bit of a contour there so it doesn't look super flat, and it just gives my face some shape, you know. So I'm just going from the top part of the ear and just patting it in and going towards the upper lip, but I'm not actually going all the way in. So just primarily focusing on most of the product being on this area here, and then as I've kind of buffed that in, I gradually, with whatever's left over, move towards the upper lip, and that gives me this really nice shadow there, right? You can do this around the hairline if you want, just to add more kind of depth around your face. You can then get the smaller slide, go into slide, did I say side? Go smaller side, and then go onto the sides of the bridge of the nose. And because it's so subtle, because you're buffing it into the brush first, you're going to get a really nice soft contour here. That is literally it there, guys. Okay, so we've got that nice blush, we've got that nice sculpt, which is really natural. Now, what we want to do is kind of set certain areas, but this is where you need to figure out, do you want this to be kind of matte? Or do you want it to be glowy, or do you want it to be a bit of both? Now, I want it to be a bit of both, because there are certain areas that I want to really mattify so that they don't bother me throughout the day, like creasing. So that's where I'm gonna make sure that my eyelids and my under eyes and smile lines and maybe a few other few other areas are nice and matte, but really the cheekbones, I want them, the cheek area, I kind of want that to stay nice and glowy, and I want that to stay how it is, because I like that sheen there. So this is where you will mattify certain areas that need it, or you know that you don't want that to crease up during the day. So we're gonna get hold of a brush. We're using the Real Techniques setting brush. I've got my Huda Beauty Easy Bake powder in banana bread, and this is where I'm not going to be using a powder puff. We're doing a very gentle setting here. So first off, I want to make sure that there's no creasing on my eyelid, so I'm going to flip the sponge and I'm just going to make sure there's nothing on my eyelids, because it's already started creasing there. Let's soak all that up. Then we're going to get the powder on the brush and we're going to press on the lid. There you go. And this is going to set our eyelids for us. There you go, eyelids are set. Okay, so same thing. We want to make sure there is no creasing. Now I'm going to get the tip of my sponge and I'm just going to go underneath my lash line because that's generally where it starts to crease. Like if I have any product there. You shouldn't really have much because we haven't got a lot of product there at all, to be fair. So we're going to get the powder. We're going to really press it here on the under eye area. There you go. Now this area, this area here, I kind of want matte along with the under eye, right? And the side of the nose. So what I usually do is I mattify this here. I then go down here really close to the side of the nose and then on the smile line here. And just around the mouth. That's all I want to, this bit, I want to keep that nice and kind of glowy. So let me do that again. We're going to go on the under eye. There we go, we've got the under eye. Go into the powder whenever you need to. We're then going to move down very close to the side of the nose. Not on the cheek here, just very close to the side of the nose. Go down on the smile line and then around the mouth. Okay, so I do like to keep this area here nice and matte. I don't like shiny brows. So that's where I like to mattify it there. See, I am happy with that. I'm going to just do the chin a little bit. So I'm happy with that. Now I've got the glow nice and, you know, in other areas and my skin still looks really like natural like skin. And then I've got the mattifying kind of like powder that's going to keep that nice and matte all day. Okay, so let's now finish off the brows and stuff so that you can really see how this whole look looks. I'm super excited for you guys to try this. So for the brows, I am going to get my Benefit Fluff Up Brow Wax and there's not, I do love this, but the problem is not a lot comes out on the brush and I have to keep going in and out like over and over. And then I just literally go like that over the brows to really get it into the brows. Brush them the opposite way and then I brush up diagonally. And then use my finger and I flatten it. There you go. Okay, let's do this side. I don't know why enough does not come out of this. Like, honestly. Unless there's not actually a lot in there. I don't know, that's a bit disappointing if that is the case. You really want to coat the hair. And then brush up. There you go, and flatten it like that. Okay, so I want that to kind of dry down before I actually go in with a brow pen. So I'm gonna let that dry down, and in the meantime, I'm gonna put some of this on because this is great for prepping my lips. This is the Desio Lip Maximizer. And this is the clear one. I actually love it for the hydration because I just feel like it delivers that ongoing hydration throughout the entire day. It's only really at night time once my makeup's off and I'm ready for bed that I feel like I need to kind of like put lip balm on. But this does the job all day. Like it really does keep my lips hydrated. Okay, this is dry. I think we can go with the pen. I'm going to use my Benefit Mighty Fine Brow Pen. And I want super natural brow because obviously we've got everything else is really natural. So we're just doing this side. Okay, so at this point you can either leave it like that or you can add a brow pencil. I need to kind of add a brow pencil because I've got super sparse brows. So I am gonna add just a little bit. I just need this to dry down a bit. So in the meantime, I will do my lips. So I'm just gonna blot my lips, so that takes off all the shine. And then I'm going to get my lip pencil, and I think with this kind of look, and I'm generally loving this in general anyway, but less of a plumped big lip look and more of a kind of natural lip. And you just blur the pencil. This is my Charlotte Tilbury one. The trick is don't actually apply a lot on the edges, because that makes the lips look like obviously done. In terms of lip color, I am going to put one of these on. I'm going to use my Makeup by Mario Super Shine Lip Gloss in Sunlit, because it's just so nice. It smells really nice. Next, I think I can do these brows. This is my Kosas Brow Pop Nano, and in dark brown. And I'm just gonna add strokes where my hair is really sparse, just because I don't want it to look really obviously sparse there. So it's not actually a lot, it's just... Okay, next, eyes. Let's curl these lashes. And then apply a mascara. A mascara that I'm really loving at the moment. Definitely not my favorite. My favorite is still the Hourglass Unlocked, but this is a really good one for that no makeup look. It's the Benefit Bounce Mascara. It genuinely is a no makeup mascara. Like, it doesn't look obvious on your lashes. It's ultra kind of feathery. It gives you this feathery look to your lashes, and I really do love it. It's just light and airy. I mean, look, right? What a good mascara for an everyday look. I just find it's actually really hard to find a mascara that isn't in your face and like super defining, which I love, by the way. I do love that for when I need it. But then there are also times where I want a mascara that isn't going to all of a sudden just make my natural look very unnatural and just very kind of dressy. You just kind of sometimes want very understated makeup products. Now, gloss, not a big fan, so I'm going to blot this. Just a light blot, there you go. Lovely. That is my finished look, guys. Can you believe that this is with no foundation or concealer? Can you believe it? How shocking is it? Can you believe that we've just got... Seriously, my skin also looks so good, if I do say so myself. You can thank me later. I want you to try this. I really want to know what you think. By the way, very quickly before we move on, please do like this video. If you feel like you've got anything from this or any of my videos, it really does actually help my channel out so much if you just hit the like. And if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. That also helps my channel out. And hit the bell button, because that means that you'll never miss any of my future videos. And yeah, that would just be a little favor from you to me in return for all of this content that I create for you. So yeah, I really want to see you guys create this. I want to know what you think. I know that it is kind of like, it is a video that you're gonna have to watch back. So watch it back, pause it wherever you need to pause it, do it with me. But isn't it great that you don't actually have to use foundation and concealer? Yes, it might take you a little bit longer to begin with, but you'll get used to it. And I personally think this is a great way to just not have to rely on foundation and concealer, you know, not have to put all of those kind of products on, and it's keeping it really minimal. And I feel like this genuinely is a very kind of good no makeup look. So I am really excited about this type of look. Maybe we'll create different types of look with this kind of base. Let me know if you want to see anything like that. And other than that, I'm going to see you on the next video.